Now I can hear myself, and I'm sure you can too. So thank you so much for the welcome. I mean, all those pictures popping out of me really made me a little bit giddy. But it's okay. So I'm honored to be here, sharing my ideas with all of you, bright minds in Owerri and beyond. And I recall getting my nomination email to speak at TEDxIkenegbu. And then I wondered, I was like, why did I get nominated? What do these people want me to talk about? And so my friends would say, you're a HR consultant, talk about HR, you're a master of that. Some people said, business, you're a business owner, have a lot of experience to share. All those things really bored me because that's not who I am. After the office, I am not a HR consultant, period. Meet me at home. So after that, I proceeded to my practice. And at that point, I recall Mr. Hector telling me, oh, you're going to wear this, right? You have just so much inches to walk past. You can imagine standing in this circle, right? And he said things like, you need to watch such and such TEDx videos to make sure that your own TEDx speech is great. And at that point, I was like, this is definitely not me, Hector. You know this, that I'm not going to stand in this circle. I'm actually going to walk past a little bit, but I'll walk back in. So I told him that I'm very uncomfortable of all the restrictions and all the limits that I had because I wanted to have a great TEDx speech. And so basically, I thought to myself, Nicole, what do you know how to do best? What can you really just put your eyes and talk about? And there it goes, originality. I know how to be myself the best. So even though I don't make any sense after this, all I want you to take out of this speech is that basically the power of originality is trumping over the power of precedence in terms of being the key to success. Now let me explain what that means. I know it's long. So, basically, originality says that you can be yourself and succeed at something. It gives you more chances of succeeding than precedence. Now, what do we mean by precedence? So, basically something that has been done before, mostly used in judging cases. There were things like, oh, this person did this way, so there is a higher chance of success for you that's doing it now. Precedence is basically saying that you're going to use what has happened in the past to judge your own current journey. And yes, the world has a way of glorifying precedence as the blueprint to success. They say things like, Okonjo-Iweala did this, she went this, she worked these years, and people like Richard Branson, they did this, they drank coffee, they slept for 4 hours, and all those great tips to success, right? Those are basic lifestyle principles. That's what precedence tells you. That's what people will tell you, that this and that did this, and so there is a high chance of you being successful because they were successful. That's the guide of precedence. Now, what if I told you that the key to success is not necessarily drinking coffee, sleeping for 4 hours, and all those great principles? The key to success to me is basically being the right person, being your authentic self at the right place, at the right time. And two, that is the key to success. That's the idea that I want you to take home following. You need to be your authentic self at the right place, at the right time, to the right people to get visible and to get the success that you seek. Now, take my story, for instance. You guys saw here, I recall graduating with my first class degree, and everybody would say things, what's the next thing to do? Are you sure you don't want to pursue your PhD? Do you want to be a professor? Oh, you must love reading books. Come for all these serious events because you must be a smart person. So these are things that you would like. And I looked at them and I was like, I'm just a basic girl who likes talking about rainbow cupcakes. And there I am trying to vindicate myself because of the idea of precedence that because first class graduates seem like they like reading books, must also like reading books. I hate reading books, by the way. Now take me into my youth service. Nigerian system, if you're a first class graduate, you have to teach or lecture in a university. Well, all I wanted to do at that point was to serve children. I love the fact that I could be in a primary school and monitor the children that I taught. They see the change that happened in them. But the assumption was that because you're a first class graduate, you must like staying in the university and mingling with people of your And at that point, I went on into doing the lesson after school program like you saw here. And I can beat my chest that the impact of that lesson after school program was way beyond what I've achieved at the NYSC program. Thank you. Next thing, I proceeded into starting my business. I had a passion. I had something that I wanted to do in terms of human resources. And people said to me, including my mentor at the time, so I had to put him, of course, but my mentor said to me that, you're too naive, you're too Americanized. No one will ever listen to you in a way. You're too kind-hearted. You love people too much. They will trample upon you. He mentioned so many qualities of mine that could have been probably used against me in terms of being a business owner. Oh, you dress too much like a young girl. And all of those things. In fact, I had a staff I was interviewing that said, what would happen? You're a woman. You may need to get married and leave city. How would this business run? But I'm sure around here, you have seen some members of the Melan team. And in your journals and your jotter, you can see the Melan Consults team. And it is kicking its butt and doing the great work that it's doing here in Owerri. So imagine if I took the idea of Precedence. The idea that because nobody had started a business with characters that I had and succeeded at it, I would not succeed. Imagine if I honored what people had done before me, before I ever took the step to do something I wanted to do. Imagine if I stayed in the box with what NYSC wanted me to do, with going out of my way to impact children that I was passionate about. Imagine if I had to pretend to you that I loved reading books and I was such a serious human being. By the way, I'm serious. Don't get me wrong. But imagine if I had to put up that facade because the idea of was I had to behave like somebody else to be taken seriously. That wouldn't have worked out well, would it? Now let me tell you about Precedence. Let me tell you what Precedence does. Precedence makes you limit yourself. It keeps you in the box of your precedent. So basically, if you're saying you want to be like Okonjo-Iweala, Precedence leads you to Okonjo-Iweala's ways of success over your own way. Here we see women who have taken on the Okonjo-Iweala style because, I mean, when she's walking, she looks serious and she looks like she's a gang woman. That's Okonjo-Iweala. So Precedence puts you in that box, in this circle, to say that I can only be great if I stand in this circle to do my TEDx talk. That's what Precedence does. Precedence makes you compare yourself. It puts some of pressure and anxiety to be like the person. So let's say Richard Branson worked for like 3 hours or 3 years to do some certain task. Think that if you work for 3 hours or 3 years and you didn't get to where Richard Branson got to, you're doing something wrong. And finally, Precedence deceives you with your success metrics. Precedence will tell you, okay, well, they say it takes a long time to hammer. They say, I have to work for like 30 years before I can be relevant. My dear, your originality can make it that in 3 months, you would hammer that hammering that the world has, that you need 56 years to achieve that success. So Precedence makes you deceitful on your success metrics and your success measurements. Now, on the other hand, my darling originality. Originality makes you adventurous. It makes you resilient. It makes you in search of that thing that makes your heart beat. It makes it that if you love music and you love tattoos, you go deep into learning how to be the best at music and how to be the best at being an artist. It makes you come alive. That's what originality does. Originality gives you the kind of confidence that when you walk into a room, you're asking yourself, do I like them over do they like me? Originality, yes, it does that to you. Originality makes you focus on your lane. It makes you feel that if I can learn this, I am the perfect one, the master of this thing. And so I am in the best. I am the best on this lane. This is my city and this is where I rule. That's what originality makes you do. Now let me talk about the core concepts that I would like to share here. So the concept is that the essence of originality is basically saying that you are believing in yourself over believing in someone else's journey. The essence of originality is believing in oneself over believing in your precedent's journey. The next thing is that originality is mastery of oneself, your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, and knowing how to intertwine those things. Someone may see you and say, oh, you talk too much. Don't dress like this, or you don't dress like that. But when you master originality, You use those things that people said as your weaknesses to become your strengths and your advantages. That's what originality does. The next thing is that mastery is basically not knowing how to do something well. It's not just about knowing how to do something well. It's about knowing how to do something in the best way possible that thing can be done. And in this case, it is knowing how to be yourself in the best way possible, in the best version possible that you be yourself. Check that out. Saying, Nicole, I know that you are a good dancer, although some of my members and my village people will be discarding that idea. But I think, but it's not saying that I am a master of dance just because I can dance. It is saying that the more I learn about dance, the more I get in the mood, and I'm becoming the best version of a Nicole dancer that I am, regardless of what everybody else thinks. That is what originality does for you. Now, originality starts where precedence stops. At what point would you let precedence stop having power over you in your life and take on originality? I'm going to leave with some final thoughts here. We often glorify, like I said, Oprah Winfrey, Okonjo Iweala, Richard Branson, Tony Elumelu, and the rest of them. But one thing we fail to recognize is that these people are not just the best interviewers or the best business people or the best at one thing or the other. These people have fearlessly, continuously, and aggressively applied themselves into the businesses and the things that they run before we can glorify their journey today. That's the difference between Tony Elumelu and any other business owner. They have aggressively implemented their originality into whatever it is that they do for them to stand out the way that they currently stand out. Being Christian at my core, I would usually ask myself this question to check myself and my originality. Dear Nicole, if you were a book in the Bible, what would your unique story be? I'm trying to scout for faces of people I love here. Mr. Uche, if you were a book in the Bible, we hear about Timothy, we hear about Paul because he was a scholar, we hear about Peter because he was a gangster, he just knew how to fight for Jesus and then denied him after. But yeah, we hear about these great people. But you yourself, if you were a book in the Bible, what would your unique story be? King Tonto, if you were a book in the Bible, what would your unique story be? Paul, you are King Toto. Your unique story will be Paul. That's a great answer. And it's beautiful that you can relate with Paul. It's beautiful that you can relate with Solomon, right? You said that. Wisdom, thank you. If I were a book in the Bible, I'll be none of these people. I won't be Queen Esther. She's beautiful and amazing, and she smells so good because they marinated her for like a whole year or something like that to be presented before the king. Ooh, I would love that. I would not be Dorcas. I would not be Deborah because people like to say I like to fight and stuff like that. No, I wouldn't be. I'll be none of them. I will be the book of Nicole. Thank you very much.